we are going to be taking a look today, doing some live reactions, and trying to figure out what's the deal with the Russian military. And this is actually probably a preview of this week's podcast because I'm sort of toying around with some of these subject ideas, or it may actually be a future video. So if you've been on all the live streams, you might actually be able to piece together what I'm thinking about doing for this video. But it's going to be, of course, the much beloved Brandon Herrera. Weird guns being used in Ukraine right now, which is, it's just going to be fun. It's just gonna be a good time. That's it. Ooh, and maybe we should do the Steve 1989 Ukraine MRE. That sounds good too. But I'm open to ideas. I'm open to whatever ideas you guys have. Once you guys show up, of course, right? I know how this is, right? You hit stream, especially because us filthy Americans use this. Hey, Telruin, good to see you. Us filthy Americans, right, use this this daylight savings time. So to everyone else in the world, I appear to just be randomly switching my schedule by an hour, but in fact, it's actually just my government. So anyway. What's up? What is going on with you, Telrun? I think you are literally the first person here. So no, stop. I can't watch. I'm trying to. Ooh, I think I actually saw this video, a civilian joining the Norwegian Special Forces for a training mission. Is this the guy who tried out for it? It's like LRP SQ or something? No. Oh, it's different. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll see. I'm just waiting. Eventually my phone will tell me when the notifications have finally pushed all the way in. Okay, so is this just like someone who goes along on a training mission with them? Ooh, that'd be neat. A former professional climber doing a bunch of military video things. That sounds kind of fun. Like I said, I think we're gonna keep at least the first half of this stream Ukraine oriented, since that seems to be the thing. But yeah, we'll definitely see. Hello, Continuum. Welcome. Welcome. Just waiting for people to kind of filter in before we get crack-a-lackin'. Hello, Shaded. Welcome. Again, I haven't seen Zolanis. Oh, okay. All right. We're filtering in. We're coming in. Cthulhu Warlord Gamers Rise Up. Thank you for that. Okay, there's the notifications. Welcome, Apiesterza. Goobler. Oh my God, we're not. If I never get called to attention again, that'd be fine. That would be a-okay. Canadian Jesus already throwing me the drink water thing. Okay, sure. All right. I think we've got everyone here probably who's going to be here. Okay, listen, we're barely a cult. It's like a cult you know? Okay. All right. So we have two options. Actually, no. You know what? I'm not giving you guys a choice. This This is a dictatorship stream. That's because I really want to cover this Brandon Herrera video first. So let me yes, the gathering of three, yes, like those gatherings of free thinkers in which they don't tolerate dissent. So this is what I'm thinking about doing first, is the weird guns being used in Ukraine right now by Brandon Herrera, which if you haven't seen it, I've watched it already. It's pretty good. So we're going to take a peek at that, and we're going to hopefully give you guys some insights that he doesn't have, though he's actually pretty good about being insightful. Obviously, he is a firearms expert at a level that I am not. But yeah, let's take a look.
You sexy YouTube mother lovers. Now, I don't know if anybody's told you this yet or not, but there's this country called Ukraine.
Audio?
Right now, there's kind of a, well,
let me see.
A bit of a yeah, that. Now, as one could expect from a war, we're seeing the use of a lot of small arms. We're also seeing a lot of javelins. But let's stick to firearms for now. Now, with this being Russia and Ukraine, you'd expect plenty of just your run-of-the-mill AK variants, which we are getting plenty of that. But we're also seeing a lot of weird stuff. Not just weird stuff, but some old stuff that you wouldn't expect to see in a modern conflict. So I picked out some photos and videos that I thought were interesting, so I figured we could look through them together and see what the hell is going on with the small arms in Ukraine right now. Now, before we get started, one thing I want to mention is that there will be no politics in this video to the best of my ability. I'm here to talk about
Okay, you think the vid is a little quiet? All right, let's
talk
that?
About the guns.
Better?
Now, one of the most prominent standouts of this conflict, of course, we have to talk about the AK-12. The AK-12 is supposed.
Okay, so I know I kind of let him go through his intro a little bit. This is the first one I want to break down. So I'm going to let him do his breakdown, and then I'm going to talk a little bit to answer some of his questions. Right.
Supposed to be Russia's new combat rifle, a modernized take on the AK, specifically the AK-74. The AK-12 is in 5.45 by 39, but they also have variants like the AK-15 and the traditional 7.62 by 39, and the AK-19 in 5.56. Although in Ukraine specifically, I've only seen AK-12 so far. Now, we've seen a lot of AK-12s turning up in Ukraine, especially ones that have been captured. It's not a weapon that I believe was used by Ukraine at all, so I think all the photos that we're seeing of Ukrainians with AK-12s would be captured rifles. And it's interesting how, just like the Crinks, like the AKS-74U, how it's a captured AK-12 is being used as a status symbol. It's the new hotness, and kind of everybody wants to get their hands on it.
So listen, okay, I want to break down a little bit about his questions about the AK-12. All right, so one of the things you got to understand is that Russian conscripts just don't. They're not like American all-volunteer forces, or even Ukraine's military, which is largely a professional military. Okay, these guys are just like tolerated, right? And the truth is, it's really hard to find motivated conscripts for a country like Russia. And the reason is that most countries that have mandatory military service tend to have a very clear purpose, right? Like like Israel is a good example in which there's one, a lot of a worrying perhaps amount of homogeneity in the country, and a really strong sense of a conflict. You also have like South Korea is another great example, or Taiwan. Mandatory national service sort of governing in response to a threat that most people in the country can see pretty clearly is serious, right? Now, what this means for Russia is that conscripts are a little bit of a free-for-all. And it's doubly true with this conscription when you don't even have a democracy, right? In which people don't have a lot of sense of loyalty to this larger government. And what I think is noteworthy is that when you look at, again, we've talked about it. In fact, I'm going to grab the book one more time because I think it's a really good read. So this is one of the better books about being a Russian conscript is One Soldier's War by Arkady Babchenko. It really is a good read, to the point where I should probably start linking it in the description of this video when it goes live. But Arkady was a conscript, like a true 19-year-old conscript in the First Chechen War. And then in the Second Chechen War, he signed back on as what's called a contract soldier, so a unit of at least volunteers. And he talked as a conscript. One, he talked about his training being abysmal or virtually non-existent, and him getting almost nothing that like the U.S. military would consider a mission brief. He received almost no information about what he was doing. But what's really crucial to understand is that in the Soviet era, right, because there wasn't supposed to be any great pay disparities, like prestigious or powerful positions were just sort of wink, wink, nod, nod expected to augment their salaries with some level of corruption. A sort of acceptable corruption, sort of like how Congress have decided to give themselves the power to do inside trading, right? They're not supposed to, but nobody's going to stop them. So, you know, Nancy Pelosi's husband just happens to be one of the best traders, and traders of our generation. Right. So in the Soviet era, that meant that if you had power and control over resources, there was just an expectation that you would convert that into currency, right? You would enrich yourself. And this applied even at the conscript level. Senior conscripts would routinely sell their gear, right? Because obviously the state would just issue them more if they ran out eventually. So it wasn't uncommon to sell crates of ammunition, boxes of grenades, sometimes even rocket launchers to the Chechens, mind you, to the Chechens they were deployed to fight. Hey, Games with Jewel, thanks for the sub. Trader or traitor? No, they would trade for their stuff. So yeah, it was I don't think you ever saw soldiers sell their rifles, at least in his accounts, but I think you would definitely see them sell ammunition, sell weapon parts, sell anything where the accountability was not great. And so I think that trend has probably continued in the Russian military. And so that is why I suspect a little bit that some of these AK-12s may not be off of captured Russian soldiers. They may have been purchased. Obviously, if you're Ukrainian Special Forces, yeah, we know how you got your hands on this bad boy, dude. But everybody else, I think it may be purchased. And here's the thing that's even more important, I think, to remember, is that in the Soviet era, right, like you could sell the weapons to other Chechens, but Chechens were poor as dirt. And if you were here last stream, you know that some of this Russian military gear, right? Russian military gear is good. I own Russian military surplus gear. My Gorka suits, which are the best rain jacket I've ever owned, and just an all-around great medium weight camping jacket. That's Russian military issue. It's got Cyrillic. It's got the Russian version of an NSN. I'm probably not supposed to have it. And in the era of eBay, international shipping, globalization, a conscript could be selling their gear as it's issued from their phone. So instead of selling it to another poor Chechen, they could be selling that gear to an American in the States. Though I think it's much more likely that they are going to sell it to a third-party dealer, someone who is like near the bases or a trusted third party who will pay them half or a third of the value of what they expect to go on and sell it for. But given that these conscripts got this gear for free, it's a pretty good deal.
Like this photo here, I believe I was told that this was Ukrainian Special Forces. Posing with a brand new Russian AK-12 from an owner I assume doesn't really need it anymore. Now I'm going to take a quick tangent because now we're starting to get into the weird stuff. Look at the other rifle that he's got slung over his chest. I know it's hard to see because it's camouflaged, but bear with me. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's my question.
It's clearly a bullpup of some sort, but it's not quite an AUG or a Tavor or anything like that. In fact, it appears to have a plum AK-74 magazine sticking out of it. This is a rifle that's known as the, and forgive me if I butcher this, the Malyuk, also known as the Vulcan. It's a rifle that's relatively
So that's right. You didn't miss much. We are just taking a look at the weird guns being used in Ukraine right now with Brandon Herrera, or Brandon Herrera's video. He's not on here. Majko. Majko says in chat, I can tell you that when Russian forces were leaving Slovakia, they were selling off everything, including tanks. Yep, I think that is 100% correct. I strongly believe that is the norm. Let's let this go a little bit longer because there's a point he makes that I think is going to segue even better.
Probably newer than the AK-12, and I think it's unique to Ukraine. It was, again, an attempt to kind of modernize a lot of the AKs, especially the ones that they just had laying around. So they built kind of a bullpup kit around it, kind of mimicking the functionality of something like an AUG or a Tavor or other bullpups like that, while also giving their AKs a way to mount optics and IR lasers and things like that. We're seeing the Malyuk a lot, especially in the hands of, again, Ukrainian special forces and other, I guess, SOF types. I know I'm not a fan of bullpups, especially AK bullpups. It's kind of a thing. I'll say...
I mean, this is only a little cursed.
As far as AK bullpup conversions go, this doesn't actually look that bad. Mikhail helped me. Although I will say they better have some sort of straight shove magwell, because I have no fucking clue how you would rock and lock that 7.62 version of this, the magazine.
Yeah, there's almost no way. It's gotta be a push-in magwell.
Out of place or into place. That doesn't seem like it clears. It does seem like the Ukrainians are actually taking advantage of a lot of the modularity that's afforded by this rifle. Pretty much all of them that I've seen have been decked out with some sort of optics, maybe some flashlight.
Right, so yeah, I mean, he's breaking it down better than I can. Okay, so Ukrainian infantry seem to be using a mishmash of AK-74 variants, right? All on 5.45. So yeah, you can see they've got some optics, PEC-15s. This guy has like 2 PEC-15s on here. I don't know what that deal is. A lot of love this. You know they're supplied by the U.S. forces because this commander is using a green U.S. government-produced notebook, which if you want to know how loyal I am to that, we're just going to cover up my name and my old organization here. Yeah, I rock the same thing, though I stuck a Bankroll Coffee sticker on there. But yeah, you can see here, boom, Federal Supply Services, baby. Again, I had this from my old job. So yeah, the green cool guy notebook. I have another one somewhere, and my wife stole it. Despite being a high-earning physician who could absolutely buy the nicest notebook, she wanted the Federal Supply Services, which if you've been married, you understand that you are no longer allowed to have you're no longer allowed to have any nice things. There's certainly no nice sweatshirts. I wish I was sponsored by Federal Supply Service, but trust me, if you can win a federal contract, and boy is it tough, you don't need old Paul to sponsor it.
IR laser for shooting with night vision, stuff like that. They're actually using their rail space. Now let's come back to the AK-12. All of these photos have one thing in common. There's nothing on these guns.
Right. Okay, so let's back it up a sec. He's absolutely right. The AK-12 clearly is a standard issue infantry rifle to Russian infantry, and it's missing an optic at all, or a flashlight, or a PEC-15. And the U.S. or the Russian military's Ratnik system absolutely wants their soldiers to have these, wants them to have optics and lights and lasers on their weapons. And so you're left with the question, why? Where are they? Right? And this is, well, Lambda suggests that the Russian infantry removed the optics. I think there's so I think we can agree. Let's actually see. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to try to look up the Ratnik system real quick, and I'll try to, let's see, Russian Ratnik system. Ratnik is Russian for warrior, and it represents the Russian military's modernization campaign following the let's see, Russian Ratnik system. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so here's some like, I'm gonna say propaganda photos or like promotional photos of the Russian military's gear. Oh, here's a good example. This is a demo from when they debuted the Ratnik. Perfect here. All right, let me open this in a new tab. Okay. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Okay. So here is a depiction of Russia's idealized military. Like this is their what's supposed to be their standard issue kit. And you can see relative to the weird guns being used in Ukraine, we're pretty close, right? Ballistic helmet, digital camo, ballistic glasses, the gloves, right? It's pretty close. It's pretty close. You see he's rocking knee pads, elbow pads, pretty standard stuff. But you look, he has a very advanced optic, and this is probably 10 or 15 years ago, right? You can see here, there's another optic. But the point of this is there's supposed to be some optics on these. And if you Google Ratnik system, you'll see almost every picture depicts this system as having an optic, right? So the question, right, we're left with is where'd they go? As we alluded to, right, the soldiers themselves will definitely sell their optics, right? And again, if you're talking about a high-end optic, it's never been easier to purchase an optic overseas from Russia. But bingo, hyper-optimal optimist says, I would not be surprised if the money that was supposed to go into buying these optics went into the pockets of people responsible for it and their friends. Yes, that is what I think happened. And the reason is because, again, in the Soviet era, the norm for a general, right? You were a general, you were in charge of a lot of things, maybe a warehouse, for example. And there was just a tacit expectation that you would be ensuring that you had the lifestyle commensurate with a general. And you would supplement it by siphoning off some of the items, some of the black market items, right? And I had a coworker actually who was from a post-Soviet state, and her father was a general in the USSR, or her father was a general in their military. And she joked, she was like, I actually got so much caviar and cognac because they were sort of the black market currency items I couldn't tell my friends about it at school because they had never gotten caviar and their parents never had cognac. They, drank low quality liquor and wouldn't be allowed near caviar. And she was like, we got it in spades. And it's obviously because, her dad was doing what every general did, which is wheel and deal to make things happen on the up and up or on the down low. So what happened here is I think there's probably, and like this, again, that story is from the era before the eBay, Amazon, globalized shipping, right? So imagine you're a Russian general and they send you 10,000 optics, and you know that those optics will sell in the US market. They'll retail for $300, let's say, right? What's the name of the company? Can somebody Google the company that makes Russian optics? I think it's called Zenit. Zenit. Oh yeah, here we go. Zenit Belomo optical sight scopes and kilometer sights. Can I buy it? Zenit rifle scopes for sale. Yeah, here we go. Zenit made night vision, $85 on eBay. Russian Belomo scope, $349 on eBay. So the lesson here is clear. There is still, oh, interesting. They're like an optics company. They sell a bunch of, I think Zenit's right. Again, let me know if I'm getting this right, but Zenit seems to be the old Soviet optics maker. And now doing like kilometers and sights and stuff. So the point is, Zenit scopes can fetch you a pretty penny. If you're talking about $300 a pop, oh, NPZ seems to be the company. Okay. Can somebody see, can you purchase an NPZ branded NPZ? Why am I doing it on my phone? Right? Let's look at this. Let's go deep. Why are we not going deep, Paul? Right? Wait, don't take that out of context. Okay, NPZ what would we call it? A site? MPZ site eBay, right? Again, I'm talking about MPZ sale original. Oh man, item no longer available. Okay, I'm just gonna show you guys this. This is pretty funny. NPZ night site eBay. The sale original Russian MPZ site. Sale original Russian site. Sale original site. Sale genuine Russian site rangefinder reticle. I mean genuine Russian site scope. Half cross reticle. Genuine Russian hunting site. Look at this. Look at these hunting. These are very high-end sites. PSO PO 4x24. Okay, let's just see. If we want to have even more fun, let's see if it'll find. Oh, here it is. All right, let's look at this Bear Optics, guys. It would be even funnier if they were from, okay, quality products from Russia. Our store is still working and sends good from Russia. That should not be. That should not be the case. Bear Optics Warehouse, guys. Let's see. Let's see if we can find. Can we find more about their store? Oh, here we go. Items for sale, baby. Nothing. Bear Optics. Guess they got shut down. But but you can see here's somebody past 6 months, right? K316 battery box for Russian night sights. Genuine Russian night sights. NPZ tulip side mount 760 by 54 axis. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Games with Jewel. Thank you. There we go, guys. Here. I mean, look at this. Parcels delivered from Russia to all countries. I mean, look what we're talking about. I mean, this is $500, $300, $299, right? $500. I mean, these are very, very high-end optics, and they're on sale, probably because of the ruble conversion rate. Yeah, but the point is, if you're wondering, look, the Russian military is in a all-out war, desperate to try to survive, right? They're fighting for their lives, and these dudes are just putting their gear on sale. I mean, this is wild to me. Manufacturer's 1-year warranty. This is great. Oh my God, variable scopes. What do we have? Jeez. Yeah. So there's your answer, guys. Like, I think it's either generals or logistics people who should be better, who are putting this stuff out there, right? They should be. I think this is what it is. This is where these night sights are. And you see what we're talking about. Imagine you have 10,000 of these and you can sell them for $500 a pop and nothing's going to happen, right? I mean, you're talking about, let's say you sell them to this third-party dealer for $200 a unit or $100 a unit. You're looking at like almost never work again money if you live in Russia. So yeah, you'd almost be like crazy. And also, look, man, you know these conscripts. They're conscripts. They're going to let the batteries die. They're going to forget to turn it off, and they're going to be using iron sights anyway. So all this to say, I think this is endemic of Russian corruption, right? Someone's going to complain if your soldiers don't have rifles, but nobody's going to complain if they don't have the optics.
I talked about this a little bit in the AK-12 video, but a lot of the ones that we're seeing coming out of Ukraine don't have any optics, no lasers, no IR stuff for night vision, no even grips for better recoil control. One of the points of the AK-12 program was to be able to have stuff like
Troll face, yeah, you summed it up. So I guess you can say that the money disappeared somewhere between the Russian paying of taxes and some officer's new car and or jacuzzi. Yep, yeah. Somewhere in that chain of command, right? Somewhere, someone liquidated this stuff. And it could be everybody took a cut, right? It could be that the general siphoned off 5%, the warehouse workers siphoned off 5%, the warehouse like general siphoned off 5%, the workers or drivers siphoned off another 5%, and the, company commander siphoned off another 5%, and then the squad leader took the senior conscripts, took the night vision off the junior conscripts and sold it, and then sold off their own.
Like that, especially.
And why wouldn't you? Because again, they were told this was going to be like a routine peacekeeping operation. They were told that this was like exercises. Like they were probably like, who gives a shit? I'm a conscript. Like I just want to grind out my 2 years and be done.
Optics, like a sturdy dust cover for mounting, simple red dots and things. I think I've seen 2 photos.
I'll say this, the US military has the opposite problem. The joke is always that the US military punishes a soldier who loses his rifle far worse than a general who loses a war. And it's true. The number of times that I had soldiers in my command have their scopes just fall off, or misplace a laser's PEC 15, and the government would spare no expense to find the culprit, hold them accountable, and their chain of command. And it was brutal. It was awful how fastidious the government was about their equipment, which made it all the more of a FU when you saw how much of that equipment was turned over to the Afghans, who immediately turned it over to the Taliban. So yeah,
was out of dozens that actually had some sort of optic on it, and it was like old Soviet.
Yeah, Lambda 62 says you're missing the point. The Russians are doing a scav run. You're exactly right, actually, about this. This is probably what scavs are.
Surplus stuff. If only Russia knew that if they needed red dots and accessories, they could have just gone to Euro Optic. I'm not sure if the red shipping applies to Russia, or I guess in this case, Ukraine.
Okay, guys, obviously you should support Brandon Herrera. He makes good content, and it's really hard to monetize firearm content. But let's just see if Euro Optic says some things that perhaps the Russian military would find interesting. Okay, Vortex, Tena Barracks. Oh, wait. These are all brands. No. We're looking for red dot sites. Okay. Tridian, Leopold, Holosun, EOTech, Burris. What's in stocks? Okay, I'm not familiar with any of these. Vortex, Aimpoint. Oh, these are like actual on-brand scopes. Okay. Tridian. All right, so they don't have used. Let's just see. Again, just let me without tags. Let's just see. Let's just see what used firearm accessories are. Oh, these are literally like weird things. Okay. All right. I can't find this. MOA, digital night vision rifle scope. Also, damn, $400? Digital night vision camera. Yeah, what's sold? All right, SIG. Okay, so I'm going to say that there's a medium chance that some of these have, are used. $8,000 Tridian IR Hunter 2 multi-reticle, like new rifle scope for your deer hunting needs. Okay, so in conclusion, Euro Optic probably isn't one of these Russian resellers. I feel like eBay is probably their preferred workaround. Okay, we're just going to skip ahead through the sponsored content.
20% off all the current non-closeout Vortex stuff. Not a bad deal. So go ahead over to Euro Optic, show them some love, and tell them I said hello. So now that we've covered 2 modern examples, let's go back in time a little bit. And by back in time, I mean about a week ago in Ukraine. Now, when I talked about photos of...
Yeah, it's like, I think it's a throwback. I mean, the average Russian conscript earns I think it's like $200 a month. And the median wage in Russia is I want to say like 600. So it's the equivalent of earning in the US. Our median wage is like 30. So it's the equivalent of earning $10,000 a year.
Of some of the Russian soldiers being kind of poorly equipped, I was referring to not having a modern optic on their rifle. Some guys didn't get a modern rifle. This poor Russian bastard got issued a Mosin Nagant.
Okay, so I want to point this out. These guys, I think, I'm almost certain, are separatists. These are the Donetsk separatists who have been fighting for the better part of a decade in Donetsk. It is indeed Mosin Man. Trying to blend in. People are trying not to notice. He's trying to just look like everyone else. He's not doing a great job because obviously he's he's having a rough go with things. But anyway, they're the separatists. They've been doing fighting certainly in their region. Donetsk is kind of the hillbillies of Ukraine.
Just a reminder, it's 2022. The Mosin was designed in 1891. I would fucking desert. I know people are gonna say, "Oh, the Mosin's still a great bolt-action rifle." Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad gun. It was used in World War I, World War II, pretty much every small minor conflict in the Third World.
This is yeah.
Then. The weapon system has killed more people than fucking pancreatic cancer. It's still to be issued a Mosin Nagant as a modern.
Yeah, I strongly think this isn't an issue. He wasn't issued a Mosin Nagant. He probably had the Mosin Nagant and showed up. Because you can see, look at this dude. Does this dude look like professional military? He looks like he's drunk right now. And he also has the 1968 model Soviet helmet.
First World Foot Soldier. Specifically a Mosin PU. It's a scoped variant of the Mosin Nagant. Also did a video on that a while back. It's kind of a neat gun. I can understand the pragmatic use. You have a lot of these still laying around. 7.62 by 54R, still widely used in the Russian military, especially with the PKMs and the SVDs and such. But holy shit, dude. If I'm being pushed into a foreign country going up against javelins and BTRs, you hand me a bolt-action rifle that is from World War II, and I'm gonna look for a fucking hidden camera. But alas, that's not the only World War II firearm we.
Would drunk disqualify him? Not in the Russian military, it won't. It's like a requirement. Yeah, so this is the other thing is like, I mean, you've just got to think about how frustrated these conscripts must be. They don't really have a choice. They sort of failed to get out of mandatory service, and they're not really told what is going on.
We've seen out in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you who I am calling Little Tachanka. This Ukrainian gentleman is fielding what is known as the
Okay, the one thing that's really interesting that I really want to know is that you see almost all of the Ukrainian infantry with plate carriers, but some of the plate carriers look very, very thin, like very thin. And I can't tell sometimes they even have plates in them.
DP.
But I'm used to ceramic plates that can eat like a 7.62 or even a 50 BMG. Right, like that's what we were issued in Afghanistan. And also we had an IOTV, right, which was a little bigger. It had a bunch more Kevlar layering to sort of do fragmentation as well. But plate carriers, obviously lighter weight, more mobility, sure. But it's not clear if they just have like steel plates.
27, or what is known to Russian Badger as the dinner plate. Because look at it. It's a fucking dinner plate. This is a Russian light machine gun that was designed by Degtyarev himself. Chambered in 7.62 by 54R, that pan-fed magazine up top is actually a rotary magazine. Haven't done a video on one of these yet, but But we're working on one. If you want to see us do a video with one of those, go ahead and subscribe, because your sub might be what throws me over the edge to actually making that video happen. It's in your hands now. This weapon saw service during World War II, was also fielded in the T-34s in the form of the DT.
That's just bananas. Also, yeah, sort of fascinated also by the mishmash of different camo types. Though these guys all have pretty uniform camouflage, but I give this dude credit. But these all look like almost like slightly off-patterned ACUs. I wonder if the U.S. Army just like changed the color slightly and reissued them. But like this, maybe these maybe are ACU.
And it's all
pattern.
around just a very sexy machine gun. You could say that all the ladies are a fan of DP.
Nice.
It's a great machine gun. Now, this conflict in Ukraine, while tragic, has given us some crazy footage of just vast destruction and a lot of things that look straight out of the game Escape from Tarkov. But if there's one silver lining here, it finally appears that USEX and Bears are finally fighting for the same team. Okay, maybe I'm stretching a little far into the Tarkov LARP, but this photo is actually really cool. You've got a very Western setup here. This gentleman's rocking, of course, single NVG tube with an AR-15 that's pretty decked out. So to go along with his night vision, you can of course see on the top of his handguard there, he's got some sort of PEX system. This is for being able to aim the weapon.
Yeah, this is an extremely well geared out person. It kind of makes me think that they may be like a maybe like a special police unit or something. Because again, it's definitely not standard issue stuff. But you're seeing this is obviously an M4 based system, maybe even like an M16 because that's kind of a long barrel. But yeah, and when you talk about an extremely Western setup, yeah, he's got obviously a high-end plate carrier, his GPS watch, he's got his radio connected in. This could be, or it could be Ukrainian special forces who've gotten the who have gotten a lot more support, direct training from the U.S. Special Forces, U.S. Special Operations. The other thing that makes me think he may be police is this non-camouflage jacket. That's something that we see in the U.S. More common in police forces.
While not having to look through an optic.
Because obviously if you're in houses and urban areas, then a plain pattern will actually blend in better with things like the side of a building or the hallway than a pattern that is broken up.
At night, using the IR laser. All in all, very modern setup. And then we have the gentleman behind him.
Yeah, this is a single up eye nod. It's looks like a PVS or PVS 7 or PVS 14. I don't know, but it's just goes over one eye, and it's I don't know. That's what we were issued in Afghanistan. It works fine.
Who I can't really see his gear, but he is running the AKS-74U, aka the Krinkov, aka the Crank, aka the Stinky Grinky. Specifically, one like this. This is a shortened version of the AK-74, known as the AKS-74U or the Crank.
Right. This is another reason it makes me think police forces, because police forces are just going to engage at shorter ranges.
And it's just a very sexy firearm. This one, of course, is one that we built. It is full auto, and I love it a lot. These are fairly...
So what's interesting is this guy, this also looks like he's rocking, oh no, he may also be rocking a like a U.S. Army type of uniform. It may not be a Gorka uniform. It may even actually be the same sort of jacket that Western looking guy is issued.
Rare, you don't really see him a lot, which is kind of interesting that this guy would be carrying one. You do lose a lot of effectiveness, especially at longer ranges. With the barrel being shorter, you lose a lot of accuracy, stuff like that, especially if you're not running an optic. But this Chad in the back does not give a fuck. His life might be on the line, but it's fucking drip or drown.
Drip or drown, I love that. Yeah, the argument is I think there's a stock on this. I think it may just be a wire stock, like a folding stock, that you can't see because of the angle and the way he's holding it.
If you're gonna go out wearing sexy kit. Something I also noticed was the lack of Zenitco stuff from the Russian forces. Again, it seems like they're saving all of their good stuff for their
to sell
operators and things, and whatever these poor dudes who were sent in, whatever they had is just what they had. I'm gonna try not to read too far into the ramifications of that theory. But I did see this.
Nah, like I said, I maintain that at this point, so, okay, there's this military concept called, I'm trying to think of what exactly the short version. It's basically it's committing your forces at the decisive moment, the decisive action or decisive battle. And the idea is that when you are on the offense, and the U.S. Army has a offense-oriented doctrine, and so the idea is that you plan your operation, you do your advance, and you run up against resistance, right? You push, and then finally you hit this point where you're starting to stalemate. Your forces are losing steam. Their defense is settling in. And at that moment where the enemy is starting to shift the tide, where you're just at stalemate, you commit your reserve and you push the enemy back. You break their resolve, and that's the moment that you can break them, right? And you can gain decisive advantage, and then you talk about exploitation and that sort of stuff. And the point is that Russia hit that point. They made lightning advances into the country and then stalled, and now have stalled almost entirely. So if they had something more to commit, they would have committed it earlier. Sweet Pie says, hey, Paul, watching this while on a submarine. Dude, that is a nice connection. Like, I mean, literally an internet connection. Are you just like touring the submarine, or are you actually like a submariner?
This photo pop up of an AK 103 series that was captured from Chechen forces.
So this is He is the reactor. So this is what's interesting to me is here you've got the Chechens who do appear to have top tier gear, right? And it makes you wonder if maybe there's just a little less corruption in Chechnya. There's just a little bit, like I'm sure Chechnya is not a like obviously incorruptible region, but there is a stronger loyalty from top to bottom in these countries, right? Especially a country like or a region like Chechnya that has a lot of tribal alliances. And so generally the Chechen military units are going to, obviously be made up of individuals who are loyal to the leader, right? This is pretty standard among strongmen and dictators but it means that it also works the other way. You want your internal security forces to be very well equipped, and you're less likely to steal and deprive them of stuff that they need. But it should tell you something that Chechnya, a side of a region of Russia that the central Russian government hates with a passion and lovingly and begrudgingly tolerates, is still out there actually putting out quality gear.
This is something kind of similar.
Continuum raises a good point. He says, hopefully when you're fighting for your survival, you don't rob your troops. And I think that's true, right? I think that may have been instilled in Chechnyan martial culture and Dagestani martial culture, both pre-existing the sort of Soviet state, people under oppression, under duress, like they can sometimes develop stronger in-group loyalties. You're less likely to see this sort of exploitation, like blatant comical scamming and exploitation, when people view the victims as being in the same in-group as them. Not to say it doesn't happen, obviously it does, but the scale is reduced. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of Western militaries, like the US military, certainly it has corruption, but the extremely strong identification with the military identity, I think is actually one of the best checks on that sort of behavior.
Similar that I have as a setup, this is like an AK-103 clone that was an Arsenal SLR-107FR. Of course, with the Zenitco on it. This is the B-33 dust cover rail, which you could see this gentleman also had. I cannot for the life of me understand why the Chechen stuff is set up better than the Russians.
We just covered this. Russian conscripts, but also like we're going to see later on, some of even elite Russian forces still appear to have sold off key gear. But again, it may be a case of just like the Chechens may be acquiring this independently, or we know that at the central depot level, this stuff isn't getting sold. It's getting sold when it gets down to a regional level, because when it gets down to Chechen regional forces who are equipping their own troops, it just isn't getting sold off at the same scale.
Seriously, is this bothering anybody else? Because it's bothering me. Now for the next gun, of course, we had to talk about this photo. It's been sent to me a million times since it first hit the internet. We have a recently captured AS Val. Now the AS Val, popularized by, video.
Now the Val, again, I don't know where you'd put an aftermarket optic on this, frankly.
Video games and other pop culture, is a integrally suppressed 9x39 rifle that is used by Russian special forces. This photo is probably one of the first graphic images that really came out of this Ukraine conflict. Because of that, I think there's been a lot of controversy as to its authenticity. I've seen a lot of people trying to
okay. Let's just slide forward a little bit,
SS Ventores. It's like the wooden
Okay, so there you go. There's okay, so you can get an optic on this.
stock, more traditional brother of the AS Val. Like an identical twin, but this one was homeschooled.
So, Lambda, the problem with Russians selling their gear is that how would they use the money? They don't have any option to exchange their foreign currency. Well, here's the nice thing, is that you don't necessarily, you do. There's almost always a black market and workaround. And in the era of cryptocurrencies, it's a very easy workaround at an individual level. A central bank, for example, cannot convert their holdings to Bitcoin to pay off debts, but an individual seller dealing with, a few $1 million a year in sales, easily can convert the US dollars that they sell into crypto and then repatriate it, or just never take it out of the crypto market. So again, globalization and the internet have really created an environment that makes these sort of things much easier. The other thing to remember is that usually there's probably one step between the seller that sells in the US market and the person, the conscript themselves. So there's some sort of middleman who's probably paying in rubles and is selling it for dollars, usually through an overseas company.
Here we have some more captured weapons.
So yeah, I suspect they're selling them for cash to a third party, and that third party buyer is taking the gear, reselling it through their legitimate commercial website or legitimate commercial operation, either in Russia or like you see sometimes where it's a commercial operation ostensibly in another part of the country, right? I actually bought a lot of my surplus military gear from Ukraine sellers.
From the bottom up, we have a PKM, of course, the Russian light machine gun. Actually, this may not be a PKM. I think this is a PKP. I think the delineating factor there is the handle up on top of the barrel. If you could see that above where it has the can, the ammo can. Up above it, we have the SVD, or specifically the SVDS, 7.62 by 54R sniper / DMR rifle, an AK-100 series rifle, most likely a 74, 3 captured AK-12s, again with jack shit on them, and 2 RPGs. Anti-vehicle, anti-air.
Yeah, like we said, a real shortage of scopes. And it may be a case of the SVD. Map has a P6P41. Interesting.
Anti-armor has been a huge part of this conflict. Enter the RPG-7. Is it a little outdated with modern reactive armor and javelins and things like that? Yeah, maybe. Would I like to be shot at with it? Fuck no.
I mean, so it's true, but reactive armor is very, very bulky. And I would argue that most of the vehicles in the Russian army can be destroyed with RPGs. Yes, their heaviest armor, their main battle tanks can probably take a front shot with an RPG-7 and shake it off, but a lot of their other vehicles can't. Even U.S. military MRAPs had to deploy RPG netting or other RPG shielding because they still couldn't sustain a direct hit from an RPG.
I haven't really seen too much use from these in the Ukrainian conflict, just because there's so much, I guess, better anti-armor equipment out there in Ukrainian hands. But as this photo goes to show, they are definitely still being used. So here we have another photo of some captured war loot. So we have an AK-12, 74, a convertible AK-12, dust covered, kind of missing.
Gotta love that. Yeah, peak scav run right here. Maybe somebody tried to sell off their 12 dust cover, or was just like, yeah, this is unnecessary. I mean, look at all this. Someone turned the rear sight up to like the max. This is, hopefully it just sort of fell that way, but...
Another AK by the look of the wood, possibly a 74. But up above it, there's something kind of funky. That is the GM94 grenade launcher. It's a Russian heavy-duty grenade launcher that can launch anything from smokes to small thermobarics. I also did not know there was such a thing as a small thermobaric. I have never seen one of...
That's true. Yeah, it may have just gotten shot or destroyed and lost the dust cover.
Combat use. So it's kind of neat, the shit that pops up every now and then. It really has been crazy seeing one conflict where the very old stuff and the very new stuff, mixed with a little bit of weird stuff in between, are all mashed together against each other. Now, I probably don't have to tell you this, but war is pretty fucked up. It's pretty terrible, especially between two nations that have...
Yeah, so I don't have much to say about the independent grenade launcher, other than the fact that I'm fascinated that the Soviets went away from their previous system of an actual dedicated underbarrel grenade launcher. I don't know if that was ever like a problem. Like the M203 system has worked fine. I know the Army has gone to a modular system that can be detached and fired independently. So maybe the Russians were just sort of copying that without thinking too much.
Have so much in common and are literally family in a lot of cases. Of course, thanks to the internet, we get a constant stream of updates and photos and videos from this conflict, especially if you know where to look. But it's because of that we're simultaneously getting more information, yet also more disinformation.
This is actually a really good point that he's making. There is a lot of disinformation. Be very careful about what it is that you see.
Information than ever before. Now, all that being said, it still doesn't take away from how damn interesting it is to see some of the photos of what is actually being fielded on both sides of this conflict. Especially if you're somebody like me who's always had a fascination with AK variants and just Soviet weaponry in general. So if you're a gun guy, or at least you're curious about what kind of weapons were being used out in the field, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you saw some exotic weapons.
Okay, so yeah, we got it. We got it. All right. Damn, that was a 13-minute video that became an hour-long breakdown. But, you know, again, I hope I was able to add to you guys a dimension of why you might be seeing these strange equipment choices, these strange decisions by the by the Russian forces, or not decisions, right? I think that, and we won't be able to see it as external observers, but the level of endemic corruption is wild. I want to say